The two ships were the most advanced pieces of technology on Earth, iron-plated behemoths designed to conquer the ice. They sailed into the Arctic with 129 men and enough food for 3 years. Then, they vanished. For nearly 170 years, they were simply gone. When the wrecks were finally found, preserved in the frozen dark, they unlocked a horror story of madness, cannibalism, and a hidden poison that doomed the men from the moment they set sail. This was the Franklin expedition of 1845, Britain's triumphant attempt to map the final unnavigated section of the Northwest Passage. Led by the celebrated but aging Sir John Franklin, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror were packed with the latest inventions, steam engines, central heating, and a library of over 1,200 books. They were a symbol of imperial confidence, a floating city sent to tame the world's last great wilderness. Their initial disappearance was not just a tragedy, it was an impossibility. For 2 years, there was silence. The British Admiralty assumed no news was good news, but by 1848, the panic began. The largest search and rescue operation in history was launched, a mission that would last for decades and cost more lives than the original expedition. Ship after ship sailed into the ice, searching for a trace, a message, a sign of life. But the Arctic gave back nothing but frozen emptiness and rumors. But here is where the investigation gets strange. The first clues didn't come from British explorers, they came from the local Inuit hunters. They told stories of strange, gaunt white men with hollow eyes, dragging sleds south across the ice. They described men who were starving, who bought seal meat with strange metal objects, and who, in their final desperation, began to eat the bodies of their own fallen comrades. The stories were dismissed by the Admiralty as savage fairy tales.
For the very first searcher in 1854, John Ray found the first physical evidence. From the Inuit, he obtained silver forks, spoons, and buttons belonging to the Franklin crew. But he also found something horrifying: human bones in a cooking pot, many of which had been cracked open to get at the marrow. John Ray's report confirming the Inuit stories of cannibalism caused a scandal in Victorian England. The public, led by Charles Dickens, refused to believe their heroes could resort to such barbarism. The next major breakthrough came 5 years later. A search party found a small stone cairn on King William Island. Inside was a single piece of paper, a standard naval form left in a metal cylinder. This was the only official record ever recovered from the expedition. Known as the Victory Point Note, it tells a story in 2 parts. The first part, dated May 1847, is cheerful. It states that the ships had been trapped in the ice since the previous winter, but that all well. But here's where the story resets. Scrawled in the margins, in a different, more frantic handwriting, is a second message from April 1848. It reports that the ships have been trapped for a year and a half. Sir John Franklin is dead. In total, 24 officers and men have died. The remaining 105 survivors, under the command of Captain Crozier, have abandoned the ships and are attempting to walk south to a river on the mainland. It was a death march into oblivion. This raised the central question: why did so many men die while they were still on the ships with plenty of food and shelter? The note confirmed the ships were abandoned, but it didn't explain the catastrophe that led to that decision. For over 100 years, the mystery deepened. The ships were lost, the bodies were scattered, and the only clues were the Inuit stories that Victorian society had tried so hard to bury. The truth remained frozen in the ice.
The next chapter began in the 1980s with a forensic anthropologist named Owen Beatty. He believed the answer lay not on the ice, but under it. He led a team to Beechey Island, where the expedition had spent its first winter, and where 3 crewmen had been buried in the permafrost. His plan was to exhume the perfectly preserved bodies and perform a modern autopsy 140 years after their deaths. It was a controversial move that could finally provide concrete evidence. What they found was astonishing. The body of Petty Officer John Torrington was so well preserved they could see the blue of his eyes through his partially opened lids. He was emaciated, far thinner than a man should be on a well-supplied ship. But the real discovery came from a sample of his hair and thumbnail. The forensic analysis revealed something no one expected: lethal levels of lead. The men hadn't just been starving, they had been slowly, systematically poisoned. This is the detail that changed the entire investigation. Where did the lead come from? The expedition was equipped with 8,000 tins of canned food, a new technology at the time. To get the contract, the supplier rushed the job, soldering the cans on the inside with thick, sloppy seams of lead. Every time the men ate a meal, they were ingesting a dose of neurotoxin. The lead would have caused severe physical weakness, paranoia, and cognitive decline. It explains the madness. The lead poisoning theory provides a chilling narrative. The crew, weakened and confused by the poison, would have been unable to effectively hunt or make rational decisions. Minor setbacks would have seemed like insurmountable catastrophes. The all-well note was likely a lie for the sake of morale, written by men who were already dying. The decision to abandon the ships, a death sentence in itself, might have been the product of lead-induced paranoia and desperation. They weren't just trapped by ice, they were trapped in their own minds.
But the lead theory doesn't explain everything. Many other expeditions used similar canned food without such catastrophic results. Some researchers argue that while lead was a contributing factor, the true culprit was starvation, scurvy, and botulism from tainted tins. The cannibalism, evidenced by the cut marks on bones found all along the path of the death march, was the grim, logical endpoint of a crew that was sick, starving, and had simply run out of options in the world's most hostile environment. For another 30 years, the story stalled again. The final resting place of the ships remained a mystery. But then, in 2014, everything changed. A Canadian search team using advanced sonar and Inuit historical knowledge found a wreck. It was HMS Erebus, sitting upright on the seabed, almost perfectly preserved in the frigid water. 2 years later, its sister ship, HMS Terror, was found 50 miles away in a location the British searchers had never even considered. The discovery of the ships was a monumental moment. They are not just wrecks, they are time capsules. Remote-operated vehicles have begun to explore the interiors, swimming through cabins where plates are still stacked in cupboards and scientific instruments lie waiting on tables. The silt-covered rooms of the Erebus and Terror hold the final, unspoken clues to the mystery. They can tell us how the men lived, and more importantly, exactly how they died. But here's a final, unsettling detail. HMS Terror was found in a bay named Terror Bay, a place the Inuit had called home for centuries. Their oral traditions spoke of a ship that sank there. For 170 years, Western searchers with maps and charts ignored the local people who knew the land and the sea. The ship was found exactly where Inuit historian Louis Kamukak said it would be. The answer was there all along, waiting in a story that no one in power was willing to listen to.
The wrecks pose new questions. Why was the Terror found so far south of where it was abandoned? Did a skeleton crew reman the ship and try to sail it out, only to fail? Why were there no logs or bodies found in the captain's cabin? Did someone remove the evidence before the ship went down? The physical discovery of the ships didn't end the mystery. It just opened up a new, more complex chapter. Each answer has only created more questions. We now have a lethal combination of factors. 2 winters trapped in the ice, a diet of neurotoxic lead, rampant scurvy and botulism, and the immense psychological strain of the Arctic. It was a perfect storm of disasters. The crew wasn't defeated by a single enemy, but was worn down by 100 small cuts. The abandonment of the ships wasn't a strategic decision. It was the last desperate act of dying men fleeing a cursed environment they no longer understood. The fate of Captain Crozier, who took command after Franklin's death, is particularly tragic. He was an experienced Arctic explorer who had warned against this very route. He led the march south, likely knowing it was hopeless. His men, weakened and delirious, would have dropped one by one along the way, their bodies scavenged by animals and their comrades. Crozier's final moments and the location of his body remain unknown. He walked off the page of history into the blizzard. The search for bodies continues. Skeletons found along the route show clear signs of butchery, confirming the darkest Inuit tales. They also show severe bone damage from scurvy. The men were falling apart from the inside out. One haunting sight contained a lifeboat on a heavy sled, found miles from the sea. The boat was filled not with survival gear, but with bizarre, useless items, silver cutlery, button polish, and scented soaps, a testament to the lead-induced madness.
The irony of the Franklin expedition is that the Northwest Passage was finally conquered by Roald Amundsen over 50 years later. He succeeded not with giant technologically advanced ships, but with a small crew in a single tough vessel. Most importantly, he learned from the Inuit, adopting their survival techniques, their clothing, and their knowledge of the land. Franklin's men died because they tried to conquer the Arctic. Amundsen survived because he adapted to it. Even the location of Sir John Franklin's grave is a mystery. The note says he died in June 1847 while the ships were still trapped. He was likely buried on the sea ice, which would have melted the following summer, sending his body to the bottom of the ocean. The leader of the great expedition has no tombstone, his body lost to the very passage he sought to conquer. His legacy is not one of discovery, but one of a mystery that captivated the world for generations. The archaeological work on the Erebus and Terror is expected to take decades. It's a delicate process of underwater excavation, cataloging thousands of artifacts that could rewrite the story yet again. Perhaps a ship's log will be found, preserved in a sealed officer's chest. Perhaps the final desperate writings of Captain Crozier will surface, explaining the last days. The ships are the crime scene, and the investigation has only just begun. The story serves as a brutal lesson in hubris. The Victorian belief in technological supremacy was shattered against the unyielding reality of the Arctic. They brought silver cutlery to a place that required knowledge of how to hunt seals. They trusted their new, flawed technology of canned food over the ancient wisdom of the people who lived there. The expedition wasn't just a maritime disaster, it was a cultural one, a collision of arrogance and nature.
Today, climate change is causing the Arctic ice to melt at an unprecedented rate, revealing new coastlines and potentially more artifacts from the expedition. Skeletons and equipment lost for over a century are emerging from the thawing permafrost. The very force that is changing our world is also peeling back the last layers of this historical mystery, offering a final chance to piece together the complete, horrifying truth of what happened to the 129 men of the Franklin expedition. From the confident departure from England to the desperate cannibalistic march across King William Island, the story is a descent into a frozen hell. It is a mystery that encompasses technology, forensics, history, and the absolute limits of human endurance. Each new piece of evidence, from a poisoned thumbnail to a sunken ship, adds another layer of tragedy to the tale. We know what happened, but we may never truly understand the fear and madness of the final days. The two great ships, Erebus and Terror, now sit in the silent dark at the bottom of the Northwest Passage, which has become their permanent grave. They are a monument to a disaster born from a simple can of food and a profound underestimation of the natural world. The men are gone, but their story is now, finally, emerging from the ice, a chilling warning carried across the centuries.